The Civil War had been building for years. Tension, division, uncertainty. Until one moment changed everything. You hear that? That's the echoes of freedom. What's up, historians? We're still hanging out here in South Carolina at Charleston Bay, and over my shoulder, it's hard to see, but it's out there. I'll throw a picture up. That's Fort Sumter out there, and that's going to be where the Civil War is going to begin in April of 1861. Construction of Fort Sumter began after the War of 1812, when America realized it needed stronger coastal defenses. It's built on artificial land at the mouth of the Charleston Harbor, and the fort was meant to protect one of the South's busiest ports from attack. By 1860, it wasn't fully finished, but it was about to become the center of a national crisis. When Abraham Lincoln was elected president in November of 1860, southern states began to secede from the Union, South Carolina being the first, declaring its independence in December of that year. By 61 in the spring, 6 more states had joined the Confederacy, but several federal forts, including Fort Sumter out here, were still held by Union troops. Inside the fort, Major Robert Anderson commanded about 85 soldiers. They were surrounded by Confederate forces. As a matter of fact, there's another fort right across the hill here behind us where the Confederacy started out their point, and they're going to start shooting from this point over there on the Fort Sumter, bombarding the Union forces. They're going to start firing back, and this firefight can go through the night. And the Confederate forces are commanded by General P.G.2 Beauregard, Anderson's former student at West Point. Just before dawn of April 12th of 1861, a Confederate officer fired a signal rocket into the sky. Moments later, at 4:30 a.m., Confederate batteries opened fire on Fort Sumter. For 34 straight hours, cannons roared across the Boston Harbor, shells exploded over the fort, smoke filled the air, and masonry walls crumbled under the bombardment. Inside, Major Anderson's men returned fire as best they could, but their guns and supplies were limited. Not a single soldier died during the bombardment, but the damage was immense. With his men exhausted and the fort burning, Anderson agreed to surrender on April 13th. The next day, Confederate forces occupied Fort Sumter, and the Civil War had begun. After this, Fort Sumter became both a symbol and a target. The Union tried for years to recapture it, bombarding it heavily in 1863 and 4. By the end of the war, the fort was little more than rubble, but had never been forgotten. When the war finally ended in 1865, Major Anderson, who was now retired, returned to raise the same U.S. flag he had lowered in defeat 4 years earlier. So standing here today on this beach overlooking the fort, you can still hear the echoes at the moment. I can still hear the cannons booming as the Civil War unfolds right here in Charleston Harbor. So Fort Sumter is where the words turned to war, where decades of division, compromise, and anger finally erupted into cannon fire. It reminds us that even the strongest walls can fall when a nation is divided, and that choices made here in the Charleston Harbor changed America forever. So remember that the Civil War didn't just start with a single shot. It started with action by the southern states to try to protect states' rights and their independence and freedom. This has been Echoes of Freedom. We're here in South Carolina. If you're ever in the area, head on out to Fort Sumter. There's a dolphin out there. But head on out to Fort Sumter. Check it out. It's worth the visit. And we will see you on the next adventure. The past has so many stories to tell, and we're just getting started. If you're ready to uncover them with us, like, subscribe, and join the mission. You can follow along on all our socials via the link below. Thank you for tuning in this week, and as always, we will see you on the next adventure.